Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a graphic nature and in graphic detail and may not be suitable for children under the age of 13. Listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 40. I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we want to send out a huge thank you to everybody who listened throughout our Halloween week. We got all your feedback and we appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Definitely a good thing to get all the good feedback. And, if there's something you guys don't like, let us know too. We can take the criticism.
Also, if you had a favorite, let us know.
Absolutely.
So we can hold it over each other.
Oh, I
Yes.
see how it is. So we're
It's
in
now a
competition.
contest.
Okay.
And Bronx Dead, keep listening on the bus. And, maybe you should videotape people responding to your laughter. That would be hysterical.
Absolutely.
Play it loud so the rest of the bus can hear.
Yeah, right. Oh, God. It's funny. I at my job, we play Spotify through the speakers. And I have debated a couple times.
Oh, my
playing our
God. That would be
podcast,
beautiful.
but I would lose my job so fast just based on our language.
Oh, yeah. That's not appropriate.
Okay,
No,
so
it's not. But a lot of the people who work in my building have started listening. So that's a plus.
That's cool.
So
Yeah,
when you
just-
get sick of that job, just make sure that that's the day you play the most obscene case we do.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how low we can sink to do that. Tonight, we're back to normal in terms of not having a theme going on with our cases. So let's keep that in mind. But this doesn't make this particular case any less fucked up and creepy.
Oh, it's fucked up and creepy today. Work.
But this is like an M. Night Shyamalan movie on crack.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Truth
boy.
is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, this is like one of those things. If you were watching this in a movie, you'd be like, yeah, bullshit.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, this is one of those. I'm not going to tell you the name of the victim because of the nature of the case. So that'll come at the end.
Interesting.
And obviously the listeners will see it in our description. Won't tell you guys because if I did, you'd be waiting the whole time to hear the name come up.
Oh, and you're just going to tell the listeners. Cool.
Well, the listeners will know because we have the title of the case.
Yeah, I can still be salty about it.
Right? You'd be salty. Oh, that reminds me of that Bare Naked Ladies Kids song where he says, when I make mistakes, I use a lot of salt because salt makes my steaks taste great or something.
Yes.
It
What?
does.
Yeah. So you be salty and I'll be the steak. I think. That metaphor didn't work.
Yeah, that was.
It
That was
can't
a
all
little-
work out.
I'm just going to keep going.
All
right.
right.
So here we go. In April of 1990, in the middle of the night in Oklahoma City, some men were driving down the road in their truck and they saw something that looked like debris on the road. Then a little beyond that, they see the body of a young blonde woman on the side of the road.
Yikes.
So they stop and call 911 and the woman was rushed to the hospital. She had what one of the doctors called a medium to severe head injury, and she was immediately placed in the ICU.
Damn.
The doctors treated her as best they could with IV fluids and meds to control blood pressure and to slow any brain swelling. Hospital staff thought that, considering she'd been in a vehicular accident, she seemed like she was in decent shape overall.
They
Her
were
vi-
assuming she had been in an accident.
Correct. Her vitals were stable, but she had what another doctor referred to as a, quote, sinking spell, unquote, and she started to decline rapidly. Her husband, Clarence, eventually arrived at the hospital. Now, Clarence is significantly older than the woman, and that strikes everyone present as odd. We're talking at least
Interesting. How big is this difference?
like twice her age.
Okay, well, there's the suspect number one.
He informs authorities that the woman's name is Tonya Hughes and that she's an exotic dancer at a club in Tulsa. He also tells police that they have a son named Michael. As the doctors continue to examine Tonya, they begin to realize that she has older bruises and injuries that have already begun healing.
Oh. Yep.
So obviously things don't sit right with authorities regarding Tonya and Clarence.
Nope. For sure not.
So unfortunately, Tonya dies while in the hospital, and she was
Oh.
only 20 years old.
Oh. Oh
that's
God.
rough.
And she has had a child with a man who's in his 40s. Great.
After Tanya's funeral, other dancers that worked with Tonya at the club wanted to find her other family members, her mother in particular. And they started using the phone book, because keep in mind this is 1990. They started using the phone book and they began searching for anyone that might be related to Tonya. They eventually get Tonya Hughes's mother on the phone and they inform her that Tanya's dead. The woman on the phone says, quote, "What are you talking about? My daughter died 20 years ago when she was only 18 months old," unquote.
What
the fuck?
fuck?
Yep. It was then that everyone realized that the woman they knew and they had just buried was not really Tonya Hughes.
See, now I had when you had first said that he had said that her name was Tonya, I had a feeling that there was so much more to that.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot more. At this point,
What the
questions at this
fuck?
point, questions begin to arise. Mainly what actually happened and who the hell was this woman?
Yeah.
So this is the roller coaster case of a woman's death.
The roller coaster case?
So did I say that?
You
This is
did.
the roller coaster case of a woman's death, her son, her life, and all the twists and turns to get to the absolute truth. So,
All right, let's dig in. I need to know what's going on.
yeah, so this is, as I said earlier, this case has more twists than an M. Night Shyamalan movie, whether they're good movies or not. And as we discuss this, I want you guys to imagine yourselves as the investigating officers.
Okay.
All right. So I want you to take that point of view because I am going to discuss things from their point of view. I'm going to tell you facts as the investigators were uncovering them rather than tell it in a chronological way. Because if I were to do it that way, this case isn't half as interesting. It's still crazy, but it's not half as interesting.
Cool.
Yes. So, and I do want to warn everyone that due to the unexpected revelations in this case, some of these people's names are going to change as I'm telling this.
Ooh,
so,
okay. All
if
right.
you guys get a little confused, just stop me and ask so that I can clarify. Because if you're confused, the listeners are probably confused.
And listeners, if you're confused, I'm sorry.
Yeah, throw us some hate. We can take it. All
Feel
right.
free to blame Janus.
Yes, it's all my fault. Although realistically, most of my sources come for this case came like my biggest source was a documentary on Netflix, which I'll say after at the end, so everyone who wants to see it can go watch it. And this is almost how they told it. So this is how investigators uncover the information, and it's just fucking nuts. I'll just leave it
All
at that.
right.
In 1989, Tonya had met her friend Karen at a gentleman's club called Passions in Tulsa. The two hit it off right away because they were both new and younger than the other dancers at the club. Karen described Tonya as smart and always seeking out more knowledge. She says that Tanya's son Michael meant the world to her. She stated Michael would always be next to his mother and generally kept his distance from her husband Clarence. Whenever Karen would suggest the two of them taking Michael to someplace like a zoo, Tonya would say no. It was clear to Karen that she wasn't allowed to take Michael anywhere without Clarence. One of those,
this man.
Yeah, one of those relationships.
Yeah, I already hate him.
Karen also described how Tonya always had bruises on her back, and despite Tonya insisting that they were caused by her slipping and falling, any rational person knows better.
Yeah, exactly.
She stated it was obviously a bad situation, but that things would only get worse. At one point, Tonya told Karen that Clarence had taken a life insurance policy out on her, and she was beginning to get terrified as a result. She confided in Karen that she wanted to run, but couldn't leave without Michael, and Clarence kept Michael very close to himself most of the time. Tonya was stuck and she didn't know how to get out. Karen claims that Clarence called her on April 25th, 1990, informing her that Tonya was involved in that hit and run accident in Oklahoma City. Tonya had not mentioned that they were going out of town, and Karen found that very suspicious.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah. Clarence told Karen that Tonya wasn't allowed visitors at the hospital Karen went anyway. She said, fuck this guy.
That's a good friend. Yeah. Don't believe
Yeah.
that man.
Yeah, fuck that. Karen claims that the nurses at the hospital told her it was not simply a hit and run and they suspected foul play, which obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
Karen stated that she saw scratch marks across Tonya's chest that looked more like she had been in a fight than hit by a car.
Yeah.
After Tonya's passing, Karen and others had contacted who they thought were her mother and learned that Tonya Hughes was not her real name. And because they did not know her real name and only knew her as Tonya, when they bought her tombstone, it simply read, Tonya, I'll always be with you.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and her coworkers had to buy her.
Correct. Her
Tombstone.
coworkers bought her tombstone. Yes.
That is so fucking sad.
Yes. Clarence is he's a shithead.
Yeah,
You
he
think?
fucking sucks.
It's only going to get worse. I mean, we are right.
It always does. I mean, we're not even halfway through. So I would expect
we're like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, that's what
if this is halfway through, we're losing
No,
our
I said
touch.
we're not halfway through. No.
I
I'm
know,
just
but we're
expecting it always just dips for the worst. So
Yeah, there's a method to this. There's a pattern. So Karen also claims that the hospital asked her about Tonya's son Michael and any conditions that he may have. The reason they're asking is because they told her that Michael hadn't spoken a word to anyone since arriving at the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And Karen informed them that that wasn't like him at all. So now everyone's even more concerned.
Yeah. Oh, poor
which means
kid.
he saw something or he knows something that scarred him for life.
And he knows that his protector is gone.
I was going to say, I'm thinking it's more that he knows his mother's gone and now he's stuck alone with Clarence.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Now, this is an interesting thing because we are talking 1990 here. And it's hard to believe that hospitals at this point anywhere in this country weren't mandatory reporters, because the hospital gave Karen the contact information for the Department of Health Services for her to reach out to them regarding Michael.
What?
Wow.
That does
Yeah.
not seem right at
The
all.
hospital
Yeah.
didn't contact them. They made this exotic dancer friend contact them.
That's not responsible at all. That's fucked.
Yeah, it's not okay. But she did call, and DHS did remove Michael from Clarence and got him into foster care. Now, his foster parents described Michael as being unable to be told no if he wanted something. And when they did refuse what he wanted, he would erupt into these fits.
Oh, he's just unwell.
Well, it's even worse when you hear these next couple details.
Oh, no.
When the caseworker first gave Michael to the couple that adopted him, they were informed of two alarming details. One, that he was still drinking from a bottle at over 2 years old.
Okay.
And it's right along the line.
Yeah, that's like it's kind of weird.
But he was drinking Pepsi from them.
What? Okay. Yeah. Okay. What?
Yeah. It took them weeks to wean him off Pepsi and start getting him to drink milk. But after one hell of a time period, he actually started to behave better, and he was a completely different kid, they said.
Yeah.
Which
That makes
Wow.
sense.
Yeah. When you're that
Okay.
little and you're addicted to sugar, yeah, I can only imagine how that would be.
Right. And like, oh God. Ugh. Why would you shouldn't let a 2-year-old have soda? I'm dumbfounded.
I mean, soda, that amount of sugar, I've seen videos where kids taste something really sweet or really good for the first time and their reaction is like almost shock.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you
I've seen those.
imagine that who knows when it started?
Mm-hmm.
So this couple fostered Michael for 4 years, and Clarence fought that the entire time to get him back. Clarence did have visiting rights, but whenever Michael was essentially forced to go see his father, he would hide and mutter, quote, "that mean man," unquote, over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Poor kid.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
fucked up.
I think it's obvious that he's not fit to be a parent.
Yeah, it's very
Well, no.
clear he's an abuser of some sort.
Yeah.
But the poor kid's stuck between a rock and a hard place here, between
Yeah,
foster
100%.
care and an abusive biological. Like,
Yeah, but from all appearances, that those foster parents were actually really good people.
right.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that they weren't, but as a child, it's still,
Yeah, no, I agree. I can see your point. But unfortunately, his mother's never coming back. So that sucks across the board.
Yeah.
So at one point, DHS called Michael's foster parents and informed them that they needed to take Michael for a paternity test.
Oh.
This test determined that Clarence was not Michael's father.
Oh, shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So at this point, the courts terminated Clarence's parental rights and the visits stopped.
Was Michael bullshit?
Michael's a little boy.
Sorry, not my
Clarence.
bad.
Yep.
My bad, Clarence.
Oh, that would be an understatement, sir.
I kind of blocked Clarence's name out because automatically I just wrote him off as a piece of shit, and
Yes, he's a piece of shit, but
so
sadly, he is one of the central figures to this story.
unfortunately,
So you're going to be hearing his name, quote unquote, quite a bit. After this, Michael's foster mother stated that she began seeing an unfamiliar pickup truck slowly driving by their home, and she started to get a bad feeling.
Mm-hmm.
She called DHS and asked if they could tell her what Clarence Hughes looked like and what kind of vehicle he drove. Their description of Clarence matched the man she had been seeing.
Oh, no.
When she told them that she believed Clarence was essentially stalking her home, they told her she was being paranoid.
What the fuck?
Yep.
They not even to check. Ugh.
Nope. So, like it always happens in these cases, on September 12th, 1994, Clarence walked into Michael's school and approached the principal. Clarence aimed a gun at him.
oh my God,
And told the principal that he was there to get Michael, that the principal was going to help him, and that he was ready to die, and that if the principal didn't help him, the principal would die as well.
Jesus.
well, you have no freaking choice at that point.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? So with a gun aimed at him, the principal walked them into Michael's classroom, and Clarence took both Michael and the principal out of the building.
Oh my God.
God.
Clarence instructed the principal to drive them out to a dirt road in the principal's vehicle, and Clarence told him to stop and get out. He then led the principal out into the tree line and handcuffed him to a tree and put duct tape over his face and mouth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, sometime later, someone saw the principal and called the police. Like he left him out there.
I'm
Wait,
honestly
no one from the
surprised that he
school
was
called
that
the
brave.
police when they were leaving?
No, someone definitely called the police when they left the school, but this is how the principal was like recovered alive. So
Wow.
yeah.
I am surprised he was that merciful. I was waiting for him to take the principal out.
You know, I got to say, I'm with you on that one. I'm surprised it didn't happen. So local police very much knew they were over their heads, and they got the FBI involved. So the FBI immediately put out an all points bulletin to all law enforcement describing Michael and Clarence. Now, today, obviously, this would be called an Amber Alert, and it would be a lot more effective, but
Yep.
here we are. In digging into Clarence Hughes, they learned that after Tonya's death, he tried to collect on her life insurance policy.
Oh, motherfucker.
However, the Social Security number Clarence had given them was for a man named Franklin Floyd. So now the FBI realized that Clarence Hughes isn't really Clarence Hughes. His real name is Franklin Floyd. And as they kept digging, they learned that Floyd went by a lot of aliases.
This guy is fucked.
They learned about Trenton Davis, Warren Marshall, and Clarence Hughes. They also learned that at one point, Floyd had lived in a halfway house. And for those who don't know, this is a place where recently released convicts can live if they have nowhere else to go, to kind of help ease them back into society after leaving prison. This told the FBI that he had a criminal record, so they kept digging some more. In 1962, Floyd had abducted a 4-year-old girl.
What?
What the fuck?
In 1963, he had robbed a bank.
Okay, that's bad, but not nearly as bad as the abduction.
Nope. Now keep in mind, in 1990, Tonya was 20. So she was born in 1970-ish. So that 4-year-old girl in 1962 is not her.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the following
She wasn't
year,
even born yet, and he's already fucking abducting people.
Exactly.
Gross.
So the following year, in 1973, He was arrested for attacking a woman, but he posted bail, and later he failed to appear in court for his trial. And he had been on the run ever since.
Whoa.
So we're talking 17 years he avoided any kind of capture.
That's pretty impressive, and I'm kind of ashamed that they weren't able to put anything together to get some kind of lead on him.
Right?
Yeah.
So the FBI realized they have a big problem on their hands, because not the least of which being that a fugitive had managed to be on the run for all those years, but he had not only effectively hidden from them and the system, he was so well hidden that he was able to go into a court and fight for custody
Are you kidding
of his
me?
son.
As a fake, that's crazy. They don't check any of that.
Yeah, any of it.
I can't believe that there was. I mean, I knew that he went, or
yeah,
I had a feeling that he went in and tried to fight it with the law, but I mean,
yeah, he tried to do it all legally. The fucking balls on this guy. So it's at this point the FBI also begin turning their attention back to Tonya's death, thinking that, maybe Floyd had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Police investigators at this point, because while they're looking into this, they're still looking for Michael. And behavior specialists started to tell him that based on their experience and their research, they believe there's only about a week before Floyd would start to get tired of Michael and do something stupid.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, he probably wasn't. Clearly, he doesn't take good care of his child.
Especially a kid that's fighting you because he doesn't want to be with you.
Yeah.
So during this time, news reports of Tonya's murder and Michael's abduction were everywhere. And a woman who was watching the news tells her daughter that she thinks the woman the news reporters are calling Tonya is actually a girl named Sharon, her best friend from high school.
Holy crap.
Stunned and saddened to hear about her death, Jenny, the woman watching the show, calls the FBI and informs them that she believes Tonya's real name was Sharon Marshall. Now, Jenny had become friends with Sharon in 1984 at a student camp. Those that remembered Sharon all said that she was their best friend. Sharon was pretty and popular, and she was in the science club. And a lot of people called it the gifted program, where you're kind of on a fast track for academics. Sharon had a lot of potential. She befriended those that were basically considered outcasts, and the ones that didn't fit in with the jock and the preppy stereotype, especially in the 80s. And Sharon was remembered by her classmates as being kind to anyone that was like an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
She would leave notes for other kids that were getting bullied to tell them that she loved them and to stay true to who they were. She told friends that she wanted to go to Georgia Tech and be an aerospace engineer.
Ugh.
She was accepted into Georgia Tech with a full scholarship.
Wow.
Yeah. She called her friends and celebrated and couldn't stop talking about it. Her father had even gone so far as to buy a full-page ad in her yearbook celebrating Sharon's achievement. Now, most parents pay for smaller ads, and some of them, some of the more affluent families pay for full-page ads. I'm sure you remember your yearbook.
Oh, yeah.
Now, most of the photos of people's children were when they were babies or in their younger years. But the photo Sharon's father had chosen was a professional level glamour page style headshot where Sharon looked sultry. Not exactly sexy, but sultry.
Interesting.
So one of Sharon's friends stated that the first time she'd ever met Sharon's father was a time that he dropped Sharon off at her family's house for like a get-together. Now, Sharon's father had pulled that girl's father aside and asked him for a loan.
What?
Huh.
Yeah, he literally asked a complete stranger for money.
That's fucked.
That's weird behavior.
After refusing the loan, the girl's parents were very suspicious and very soured towards Sharon's father. Rightfully so.
They should be.
Makes sense.
So according to her friends from high school, Sharon told them that her mother had died after being hit by a car while on a bridge when she was in second grade. So around 7 years old or so. Sharon had been in charge at her home, and she was in charge of the cooking. She had to make dinner every night for her and her father, and she wasn't allowed to talk on the phone.
Oh, man. Oh, no.
I know you're trying to piece the puzzle pieces together, and it's becoming more clear to you, but you don't have all the pieces quite yet.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna say I think her husband Clarence is her father.
No comment.
Well,
Yes,
that's my
yes.
running theory right now.
No,
So just letting that out there in
and I'll
case I'm
put it
right.
out. No, we'll put it out there. You're right. Clarence is her father. And
Really?
I actually gave you a hint because her name is Sharon Marshall. And
Right.
earlier I said one of his aliases were Warren Marshall.
Yep.
So I didn't know if I put that in there as a little breadcrumb, and that's why I've been avoiding saying his name. This is Tanya's life before she became Tonya.
Okay,
So
right.
Tonya is Sharon, and
Tonya is Sharon.
Clarence, her husband in the 90s, is Warren, her father here in the 80s. So those are the same two people. So Sharon would sometimes sneak calls in with her friend when her father wasn't home, but she would have to hang up quickly if and when he returned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jenny, her friend, also remembers one time that her mother had let her spend the night at Sharon's house.
Bad idea.
Well, she thought it was odd. When she got there, she thought it was odd that they didn't have doors. They only had curtains separating rooms.
Uh-oh.
So at some point, Sharon was showing her like some of her stuff, and she opens up a drawer that's full of lingerie that her father had bought for her.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, so Jenny's like shocked, and she starts inquiring like, why do you have all these? And Sharon tried to downplay it by simply stating that she kept them because she thought they were pretty, which
Yeah.
may or may not have been true, you know.
Yeah.
So Jenny stated that later that night, when the two of them were undressing to change for bed, Sharon's father suddenly entered the room with a gun.
Oh my God.
He was screaming at them, asking them what they were doing. All the while, he's pointing a gun at them.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Jenny screamed, and Sharon's father just laughed and said, "I'll be back," and left the room.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Jenny looks over at Sharon, and she was also laughing.
What?
Oh,
And
that's
Sharon
sick.
said, quote, "Oh, daddy's just being silly," unquote.
Holy hell.
Nope. No, thank you.
So after the girls had changed, Sharon's father had come back into the room, still holding the gun. He told Jenny to lie down and put a pillow over her head. Jenny stated that he then went and raped Sharon at gunpoint while she was laying there.
What
Oh,
the
dear God.
fuck?
So the next morning, after they woke up, Sharon gave Jenny a hug and said, quote, "Daddy's just like that. I'm okay. You're okay. Just let it go," unquote.
Oh
Oh,
no.
there's all kinds of damage there.
Oh, that's a lot. Oh.
So Jenny talked about that moment, that event, and how it changed her world perspective as a teenager. And
Yeah.
it changed her entire life going forward.
That's horrific and so deeply traumatic and just, oh my God, on every level.
I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. I'm surprised she got any sleep if she actually did.
No, I'm surprised she didn't fucking run out of that house. I guess she's probably scared for her friend, but
Well, that and like if I would be afraid to try to leave the house and have him standing there all of a sudden.
right.
So she was probably terrified that whole night.
Ugh, poor thing.
So sometime later, Jenny said that she remembered getting a call from Sharon where she was bawling her eyes out, saying that she was pregnant. When Jenny asked what Sharon was going to do, Sharon said that she would have the baby, but she had to put it up for adoption because her father wasn't going to let her keep it, but he was also not going to let her go to college anymore.
What?
Yep.
Oh, this poor thing.
When Jenny pushed back, stating that she had received a scholarship and she was so smart and had worked so hard, she had to go. Sharon's response to that was, quote, "Somebody has to take care of daddy," unquote.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
One day, Sharon called her friends and told them just out of nowhere that she was leaving for Arizona because she had to give the baby away. She had to put it up for adoption.
Oh my God, poor thing.
So these friends would not hear anything more regarding their friend Sharon until Tonya died and her son had been abducted.
Oh my God.
That's awful.
Yep. So the FBI came and they had spoken with Jenny after her call to them. That's when she's informing them that Tonya is actually Sharon. Now, the FBI and Jenny were comparing photos of Tonya and Sharon, as well as Clarence Hughes to Warren Marshall. Now, Jenny got incredibly upset when she realized the FBI agents were informing her that the man she knew as Sharon's father was now calling himself her husband.
Oh, it's so gross.
Yeah, her and the FBI went back and forth because she thought they had to have their information mixed up. But the FBI made it clear that no, they were married.
And it's so fucking disgusting.
And it's at this point that everyone realizes this man married his own daughter. Sorry, that so came out of nowhere. It was so silent, and then you did that.
It's so fucking nasty.
It was thanks to this interview with Jenny that the FBI realized that it hadn't just been Floyd that had changed his name. As they dug deeper, they learned that Sharon Marshall had become Tonya Tadlow, and Warren Marshall had become Clarence Hughes. After researching, they realized that they had chosen these names off of tombstones in a cemetery somewhere in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, they must have been right next to each other or something.
That's fucking weird.
Afterwards, they got married under these new names in New Orleans.
Ew.
Yeah. Investigators knew they needed to fill in the blanks between when Sharon had left school and when Tonya was found on the side of the road. Jenny had remembered that she had heard from Sharon once, and she told them that she remembered them moving to Tampa, Florida. She started working as an exotic dancer at a place called Mons Venus. And I'm probably saying that wrong. I think there's supposed to be a French accent in there, but I'm not really going to attempt it. At the time in the late 80s, this place was essentially had the best reputation. It was considered the only place to go to in Tampa for adult entertainment. They were known
Interesting.
For
a reputable club.
Right. Well, the weird part is they were known for having the most beautiful women and the finest lingerie, but celebrities frequented this place.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's, to be fair, I'm looking back, it's probably one of those clubs Motley Crue sang about in the song Girls, Girls, Girls.
Maybe.
Probably. So a fellow dancer from that club remembered when Sharon first started there. She stated that Sharon looked like a living baby doll and dressed very innocently. Sharon was never walking around completely naked like all the other dancers were. This dancer said Sharon was shy and never talked about herself or her past. The other girls in the club, however, began talking about Sharon's creepy father and their weird relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So her father, Floyd, was instructing Sharon to inquire about parties that were arranged in and outside of the club, and she needed to make it known that she was available to take part in these parties.
So what kind of parties is this?
Well, these parties were relatively easy money. One of the best examples that this club offered was known as a millionaire's party. Basically, the girls arrived at these parties, they mingled, they danced to 3 songs, they didn't have to do any lap dancing, no one was allowed to touch them, and the girls made between $500 and $1,000 for a single night. Now, keep in mind, this is back in the late 80s, so we're talking about $1,200 to $2,500 today.
That's a pretty good
night.
Especially if no one's touching you, as long as that's actually enforced. Right. I can see that.
You dance 3 songs, you talk to people, and you go your way. It's pretty good money.
Yeah.
However, Sharon was asked to leave her very first millionaire's party because she was offering sexual services for a whopping $50.
Girl, what?
What?
Yeah. Essentially,
know your worth, first of all.
Right? It's especially chump change compared to what she could have been making at that point.
Right. Unless everything else was, what I'm assuming is all of her money is being taken from her and she's trying to do this as a side so that she can have a little bit for herself.
Nope, not at all.
All right, never mind.
When confronted about this, Sharon told her coworker/friend that her father told her to do it and had given her the condoms.
Oh, dear God.
Huh.
Yeah. So he is probably controlling their money, but he's also controlling her behavior.
Oh.
So fucked up.
Really fucked up.
Over time, it became apparent that Sharon was pregnant, And this was with her son, Michael, obviously.
So is this the second pregnancy?
This is the second pregnancy, but there's no child. Like, the people at this club are unaware that there had been a child beforehand.
Okay, so that child was actually given up for adoption.
Correct. A friend stated that Sharon was a great mother and that she interacted with Michael really well. A neighbor of Sharon's, a girl named Michelle that was 15, was hired to be Michael's babysitter. She described Michael as a sweet kid. Now, Michelle lived roughly a block away from Sharon and Floyd. They lived in like a trailer in a trailer park, and she lived just outside that little park.
Mm-hmm.
She explained that in their trailer, Floyd slept on a hideaway bed in the living room, and Sharon slept in the back room, with Michael sleeping in a room in between them. Michelle also stated that she thought it was weird that Michael didn't have a crib, but slept in a pack and play.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird unless you know that there are people that are kind of on the run.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
She also stated that they didn't have any family that she was aware of and only about one or two friends. One of these friends was a friend of Sharon's, a woman named Cheryl. Michelle described Cheryl as being very nice and that she was always well dressed. Cheryl also worked at the club.
Gotcha.
She described how Cheryl would drive through the trailer park in her Corvette and wave to her as she saw her. She said, she said it made her feel very good to have such a pretty woman being so nice to her. And at 15, you kind of get that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Cheryl had been a beauty pageant winner and was using the club Mons Venus as a stepping stone for her career path, as she had ambitions to be in Playboy magazine, which, okay, it is the late 80s, sure.
Yeah.
Not as easy today. Yeah. Sharon's other dancer friend was concerned for Cheryl's safety, however, when she learned that Cheryl was spending so much time with Sharon and her father.
Yeah, that's a big fucking red flag.
Now, Michelle stated one night Floyd had put in a cassette tape, a VHS tape, into the VCR to watch a wrestling match. When the video started to play, she saw that it was a recording of Sharon and Cheryl topless on the beach.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, she said she was really confused because she realized that this guy is filming his own daughter.
Yeah, that's fucking gross.
So Floyd quickly turned off the video and asked Michelle to never talk about it. Michelle quickly made an excuse and got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I would be surprised if she never came back.
Strangely, though, news of this video was circulating through the Gentlemen's Club.
Oh, that's weird.
Really weird. Now, when Cheryl was asked about it, she claimed that Floyd asked her to let him take photos and videos of her so that he could submit them to Playboy, that he was going to help her become a star.
Ew.
I would not trust that for anything.
I don't know how anybody would trust that.
Yeah, that's just a man who wants to take naked pictures of you.
Basically. Now, Cheryl told her coworker that Floyd was being aggressive and trying to have sex with her and that she was fending him off.
Yeah, maybe stop going over there, bestie.
Well, unfortunately, something flipped inside him and he started becoming violent, and coworkers were advising her to stay away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Then, without a word, Sharon and her father just left. Poof. No longer coming into work. And neither was Cheryl.
Uh-oh.
Now, the coworker / friend believed that they left because there was too much talk and that the girls were actually trying to get Sharon away from him.
Yeah.
But everyone knew that Sharon had said too many times that she couldn't leave without Michael and that Floyd wasn't letting him anywhere, like wasn't letting him out of his sight. So she was basically stuck. As the FBI dug deeper into Floyd, they began to see patterns of violence throughout his life. As we stated earlier, in 1962, and this goes into a slight bit more detail, he was convicted after he abducted and sexually assaulted a 4-year-old girl.
That is so fucking disgusting.
Dear God.
Yeah. So as of 1962, he was technically a convicted pedophile, although I don't think they were using that term then.
What the fuck term were they using?
Yeah, it was...
Molester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I was a kid growing up, it was always Chester the molester, that stupid thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Pedophile, that was a relatively new term, maybe only in the last 20, 25 years.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I
Guess
mean,
I've
it's
only been
probably,
alive for about that long.
well, I was going to say it's probably been around longer, but it wasn't in use the way it is today.
Gotcha.
So at this point, a neighbor of Floyd's from the 70s came forward because he had a photo of Floyd with Sharon from when she was about 5 or 6 years old.
Ugh.
So behavior scientists and officers in the FBI pointed out that in this photo, and I'll post this on the Instagram page, that this is a typical photo where you can tell the child is an abused child. She's not smiling in the photo, even though it's a professionally done photo and normally people are smiling. This girl is not smiling and actually appears to be quite sad.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, something else now comes to light. Sharon was 20 years old when she died in 1990, which we had already discussed. That meant that she was born in 1969 or 1970, depending upon the month. Floyd was in prison from 1963 until 1972. Floyd isn't her biological father.
No. Unless, yeah. No.
He's not her biological father.
Like there wasn't a conjugal visit, was there?
No, there was not.
I don't know if that's actually a real thing or not.
It is, but you have to be legally married.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Typically, that's the way that goes. Yeah. So with a history of having abducted a young girl, the FBI began to realize that Floyd had most likely abducted Sharon as well.
Oh.
And they start to realize that her name wasn't Tonya or Sharon. And
holy shit.
And that Floyd had controlled her for over 15 years.
Oh my God.
Right. So with this knowledge, the FBI are now becoming extremely, and not that they weren't already, but they're even becoming more concerned for Michael's safety.
Yeah. That's horrific.
Terrifying. So they realized that Floyd had done something like this before, and therefore he would have to start showing a pattern. So they put all of his known aliases on alert in the systems in every state he was known to travel through and had obtained fake IDs in those states. In no time at all, Floyd tried to renew his driver's license in Louisville, Kentucky under the name of Warren Marshall.
How is he getting, like, is this just because there was no tech back then? Like, how are you getting a license with a fake name? Like, how are you doing that?
Believe me, back then it wasn't hard at all. Like, there was no tech.
Like, yeah, I was like, you couldn't do that.
You just need like a fake looking birth certificate and a piece of mail with your name on it that had been mailed to a particular address, and then you say that's your address. There's no way to check that stuff back then.
Yeah, I guess there's no, like, I guess you don't need your social security. I think you need your social security number.
Yeah, but you can probably, again, I'm going to go back then. Right. You probably could have faked that easier.
Right, because it was just a card.
Right.
And they're not checking a national database or something.
Yeah. It's crazy how easy it was back then.
Man, really, ain't like it used to be, huh?
I wouldn't know. I never needed any, but yes. So an agent from the FBI dressed up as a UPS employee and went to the address Floyd had provided and delivered his driver's license to him.
Oh, that had to have been fun.
Yeah, so when he was like, "Oh, thanks very much," that's when they arrested him.
Because he had to acknowledge who he was then, and acknowledge he was getting a driver's license.
Brilliantly done. So after Floyd's arrest, agents searched his residence and talked to his neighbors. No one had seen Michael.
Oh no.
Among his possessions, Floyd had just a single bus ticket from Atlanta to Louisville. Nothing to indicate Michael had made the trip with him.
Oh no.
When asked, Floyd said that he left Michael with a rich person in another country.
What?
Yeah, that was what he said.
What the hell?
Like, why would anyone believe that?
That doesn't make sense. Like, he would have had to get to another country.
Right. Or gave him to someone who was about to leave the country. But who does that without paperwork if you're doing it in any way that's remotely legal?
That doesn't make any sense.
Hence why it's a really bad lie.
It's a really bad lie. And at this point, the FBI is pretty certain Michael is dead, but they're hoping they're wrong.
Ugh, that's awful.
So the foster parents that had taken Michael in had even spoken to the press regarding his safe return. Prosecutors charged Floyd with kidnapping and using a firearm in a kidnapping because they weren't sure that they would actually be able to indict him for murder without a body.
Right.
Floyd had initially tried to be his own attorney, but he would go on these long tangents and rambles, clearly displaying his ego, his hubris, and the fact that he's a complete fucking narcissist.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that must have been a pain in the ass to be in that courtroom.
Yeah, that would have sucked. You would have wanted to slap the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Sharon's high school friend Jenny even testified in court against Floyd.
Wow.
At one point during cross-examination, Floyd, acting as his own attorney, asked her if she had drawn her opinion of him from what the FBI had said. Her answer was, quote, "No, I drew my opinion of you when I saw the type of lingerie you bought for your own daughter," unquote.
Ooh, scathing.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
Floyd was found guilty of kidnapping Michael and sentenced to 52 years in prison.
Oh, shit. For kidnapping?
Well, he's got a history, though. So
right,
it's
true.
Yeah, it's not just kidnapping.
Right.
And you got a missing kid.
True. That's true.
When being escorted out of the courthouse, a reporter asked him where Michael was, and Floyd's response was, "Fuck you and all of Oklahoma." Yeah, right. Soon after, the truck Floyd had stolen from the principal was located, and hidden within it were many pornographic images, including some of Sharon when she was young.
Oh, that's fucking nasty.
There were also photos of a young woman that the FBI had no knowledge of and couldn't identify. The photos showed that woman in various stages of undress and that she had clearly been beaten.
Ugh.
The FBI realized the extent of that woman's injuries meant that Floyd must have killed her because she could not have survived those injuries.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so they had yet another mystery to dig into. Now, this young woman had pronounced tan lines, so they figured she had to be from one of the more southern states. So taking a shot in the dark, agents sent the photos of that woman to field offices in Florida, Georgia, and Kentucky, and had them check any unsolved cases they had. The offices in Florida had an unsolved case that fit the bill. Skeletal remains had been found with shotgun wounds to her head back in 1995.
Whoa.
They looked at the photos of that woman that had been beaten, and they saw that she was wearing the same shirt that had been found on the body.
Oh, God.
Putting the pieces together, they were able to identify the remains as Cheryl Camesso, the friend of Sharon's from the Mons Venus dance club.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she had been missing since 1989.
Holy crud.
Yep.
That's awful.
When the FBI began interviewing other dancers that knew Cheryl, they learned that there were times that Cheryl had come into the club with black eyes and bruises on her neck and body.
Oh, God.
One of the dancers, a friend of Sharon's, said that she knew they were from Floyd, but she knew him as Warren. She stated that Floyd would often call the club asking questions about Cheryl. She said he was growing obsessed with her, wanting to know her full name, where she lived, and all sorts of personal shit.
Ugh.
The same dancer friend stated that she had witnessed an argument in the parking lot between Cheryl and Sharon's dad, because she didn't actually know his name, where he had threatened to kill Cheryl.
Oh, my God.
The dancer said that she had intervened and separated Cheryl from him, and then he started redirecting her anger towards her. She said that he even revved his car and allowed it to lurch forward as if he was going to run her over. Sound familiar?
Yep.
She said she walked Cheryl to her car and told her to come home, and that was the last time she had ever saw Cheryl.
Oh.
That's so rough.
It was at the same time that the trailer Sharon and Floyd lived in exploded. And I don't mean caught fire. I mean it fucking exploded.
Oh my God.
Holy crap.
A neighbor had seen someone walking up to the trailer minutes before it exploded, and the FBI now believe that Floyd had done it to hide any evidence of what may have happened inside that trailer, especially involving Cheryl.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fucking
Oh my
crazy.
God.
So the FBI, they now realize that Floyd made Sharon marry him to throw off investigators. That's why they changed their name. They got the names off the headstones. So that's what they're starting to piece together at this point, is that they basically changed their names and got married just so that as they continue to look for for Sharon and Warren Marshall, now realistically they're running around as Clarence and Tonya.
Right. Yeah. And they're not looking for like a father-daughter, or they are looking for like a father-daughter pair. They're not looking for a married couple.
Correct. After finding Cheryl's body, he was put on trial for her murder. I do want to state one little side note here, though, and I've expressed my frustration on this fact with news media in the past, but the fucking headlines for this were man charged with the murder of a nude dancer.
I fucking hate
So,
that.
so she was just thrown away.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's
a human fucking being. Like,
yeah. And
Nope,
it's not
that's
even
insane.
just dancer, a nude dancer. Like, let's make her worthless.
yeah, why can't it be pedophile or like fucking
Right. Yeah, murderer charged with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's because she was in that line of
Yeah, and it's so fucking annoying and frustrating.
It is. I hate that.
Yeah, she has value. Stop fucking doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, side note over. Floyd was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, this is Florida, so
True.
They don't fuck around. One of the FBI agents, Joe Fitzpatrick, that worked on this case, he ended up retiring around this point, saying that there were only 2 cases he was never able to close before he retired. The first one was finding Michael Hughes, and the second was identifying who Sharon really was. In 2002, an author named Matt
Arthur?
Did I say that funny?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You said an Arthur.
An Arthur, yes. In 2002, an author named Matt Birkbeck had his attention brought to a photo of a little girl on a site called the Doe Network. This is a site for missing persons. It was a photo of Sharon/Tonya sitting on Floyd's lap, and the caption read that she had been kidnapped, raised as his daughter, then forced to marry him, and then killed. This author just felt this great need to dig deeper, and he contacted Fitzpatrick from the FBI. Birkbeck decided, after talking to Fitzpatrick, that he was going to write a book on the case and dig into her identity.
Oh, shit. He's in.
Yeah, he's all in, and good for him.
Yeah, for real.
Birkbeck asked if he could interview Floyd, as he was the only person that actually knew who she really was. Floyd began talking pretty much non-stop, thinking that Birkbeck would be able to help him out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a narcissist. Of course he's going to talk.
Yeah, of course he's like, this guy obviously thinks I'm dope.
Right? So at this point, this is where people start to learn a little bit about Floyd's early life. Franklin Floyd was born in 1943. He had siblings, but after his father died, all of the children were sent to the Georgia Children's Baptist Home because his mother couldn't take care of them. He then follows the path that we've heard so many times here. Abused, neglected, bullied, and sexually assaulted by bigger boys.
Ugh.
By 18, he was suffering from some serious trauma, and his next decision is what we hear a lot on this podcast. He goes and joins the military.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
After he left the military, he became a drifter and a petty thief, stealing food to survive. He was often accused of crimes, which he probably committed, but of course he would claim he was innocent and that he had been abused by those around him, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
During the interview, Birkbeck would ask about Sharon or Michael, but Floyd would be evasive on those topics. At some point, Birkbeck asked, well, where did you get Sharon from? Floyd responded with, I didn't get her anywhere. She came with me.
Oh,
Huh?
okay.
Right?
What?
Weird, right? So in the end, Floyd admitted to nothing and gave nothing away.
Of course not.
In 2004, Birkbeck published a book which he called A Beautiful Child, and it got national acclaim. Once the book was out, the internet detectives read it, and they got to work on trying to find out who Sharon really was.
Oh, well, if the internet detectives are on it, then we're going to figure it the fuck out.
Right? Nothing like armchair detectives, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have all the time in the world, and they're doing it for free, so.
Right? Which is so funny because that's part of the police's problem right there. They're not doing it for free, and they really don't have the time.
Yeah.
We should probably turn some of this shit over to people, shouldn't we?
It's true.
So slowly, people were trying to see if she could be a missing person from random states, and they were doing what the police and the FBI had tried to do but failed to do. Within months, there were people globally and actively trying to solve this.
Wow.
A year after the book was released, Birkbeck got his first real lead. He got an anonymous email that had come in asking, would the DNA of Sharon's daughter help you?
Holy shit. Like the adoptive parents?
Yep.
Oh my God.
A woman named Megan had read the book. Megan grew up knowing she had been adopted, and something clicked when she read Birkbeck's book.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she believed she was Sharon's biological daughter, and she was. The DNA matched.
Whoa.
Oh,
Yep.
boy.
Learning what her mother had gone through had obviously upset and angered her, but she wanted to help. So we're going to cut back to 1989 in New Orleans. Tonya and Clarence had gone to an attorney's office, having just changed their names and gotten married, and told them that they could not afford this child, and asked if they could help them, get someone to adopt it.
Was this the first child or Michael?
No, the Michaels, they stayed with them.
Gotcha.
So the woman that would adopt Megan, Mary Dufresne, reported that Floyd had dominated the entire conversation and just wanted the ordeal over as quickly as possible. He also wanted money, obviously. That's how someone like him works, yeah. Mary stated that after Megan was born, there was a moment when she and Tonya, as she had known her, were alone in the hospital room. She asked Tonya if she wanted to see the baby, but Tonya responded that she couldn't, probably because of Clarence, Floyd.
Yeah, either that or she emotionally couldn't handle seeing the baby that she was about to give up.
Yeah, that's probably very true too. Mary stated that after learning of Tonya's fate, she wished she had said anything more to her. So in 2010 or 2011, Megan had run her DNA through one of those Ancestry.com type of sites to hopefully find any other family members. It was at this point that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had come in and started helping her. A forensic case manager named Ashley Rodriguez was given the case file on Sharon Marshall. Joe Fitzpatrick, the FBI agent, came out of retirement to help Ashley.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Ashley reached out to the FBI and got 2 agents to come to Florida because they wanted to interview Franklin Floyd again before his execution date. Fitzpatrick warned them that he was going to lie about shit like it was his job to lie about shit. So they knew going in that they had a pretty big uphill battle. Now, Ashley didn't think their chances were very good, but she also knew that they didn't have a lot of other avenues left to find out, who Sharon really was.
Right.
Agents Scott Lobb and Nate Furr went into this with an agenda with only 3 questions that they needed answers to. First one was, who was Sharon Marshall? The second was, what happened to Michael? And the third one was Floyd responsible for Sharon's death? So the agents hadn't even yet introduced themselves when Floyd entered the room before Floyd began a long-winded rant about himself.
Huh. Naturally.
Right?
Sounds like him.
For some reason, Floyd assumed that the agents were his new attorneys.
Well,
right?
You should really ask that first, buddy.
Right? So now occasionally the agents would try to interject questions about who Sharon was because their focus was on that particular question, because they figured out of the three of those questions, that's the one where he's not admitting to a crime.
Right.
But Floyd didn't answer them. After 45 minutes of talking, they finally told him that they were not his new attorneys.
Wow. I guess he never fucking asked, so.
Right? Well, finally, Floyd stops and goes, well, who the fuck are you?
Oh my God.
They informed him that they were with the FBI. And Floyd was so startled and asked them like what they wanted. And they told him that they were reopening the Michael Hughes investigation. Floyd's response was, quote, I'd appreciate it if you closed that, unquote.
Huh. Yeah, of course he would.
Right?
Yeah, of fucking course you would, dude.
So Agent Fur said that they knew Michael was supposed to be, told him that they knew Michael was supposed to be his new Sharon. And that with her gone, Michael was supposed to replace her.
Oh.
Floyd broke down and started crying.
Whoa.
Agent
That's
Lobb,
surprising.
yeah, Agent Lobb saw this as an opportunity and he went for it. He slapped his hand on the table and said, how did you kill him? Floyd stopped in his tracks, as did his tears. They just suddenly stopped and he stared at Loeb. He does it again. He slams his hand on the table and says, how did you kill him? And Floyd said, don't do that, man. And Lobb slammed his fist down one more time and said, how did you kill Michael? And Floyd said, I shot him twice in the back of the head to make it real quick.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He claimed he claimed he buried Michael's body near the Oklahoma and Texas border, but after days of searching, the FBI could never recover his remains. Now, I'm sure you can imagine how long that border is.
Yeah, that's massive.
And I doubt after all those years that even if he could take a drive, he probably wouldn't be able to point out where it was.
No.
No way.
Unless he marked it. Like, there's no way.
And why would he mark it? You know, he's probably never going to go back, and he doesn't seem like the sentimental type.
Yeah.
You know? So you would just never do that. Because if you mark something, someone might decide to try to dig it up.
Yeah, for real.
It's just a random cross somewhere, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't because you'd be like, I don't want to find somebody's dog, but.
Right. Like, nobody, unless you're literally a grave digger, like, why are you digging that up?
or a fucking sicko. Yeah, I guess.
I don't know
right.
about you, but when I see a grave, I don't think, oh man, I should dig that.
No, I guess not. So after confessing to Michael's murder, the agents let him keep talking because, like any true narcissist, Floyd loves to talk about himself.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd was recounting his younger adult years and talking about how good looking he was and all that nostalgic shit. And he said something that stood out. He said that he had met someone named Sandy who had lost custody of her 3 kids to the state. Lobb brilliantly asked him, what was your name at that time?
Oh, that is a very good question.
And Floyd answered, Brandon Cleo Williams. And this was a completely new name to the FBI.
Fucking crazy.
Right? Floyd also told the FBI the name of the woman, the date that he married her, and the name of her kids.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Lobb asked which of these kids was the oldest, and Floyd answered, the one you're here asking about.
Oh, shit.
They asked him where she was born, and he said Livonia, Michigan.
Whoa.
And in the strangest way of maneuvering around Floyd's avoidance to answering questions directly about Tonya/Sharon, Loeb then asked, what was the oldest daughter's name? And Floyd said, Suzanne Sevakis. Suzanne Marie Sevakis was born to Sandra Brandenburg and Clifford Sevakis. They were both still alive at that point.
Oh my God.
The FBI went to Sandra's home, who was now named Sandra Willett and was wheelchair bound, and they showed her a photo of Sharon. Sandra said, that's my Suzanne, and asked if they knew where she was.
Oh.
They had to tell her the whole story. Sandra was 19, and her husband Clifford was fighting in Vietnam when Suzanne was born. Clifford was a different person when he returned from the war, and Sandra had started seeing someone else. She asked for a divorce, and she would have 2 other daughters with the other man that she was seeing.
Wow.
That relationship also did not work out.
Oh my God, that's so fucking rough.
And Sandra found herself a single mother of 3 girls living in a trailer park.
Oof. And like in the 70s.
Correct. Or, yeah, in the 70s, yeah.
Oh, when women could barely have bank accounts.
And
Hell.
probably the second most tragic moment in this part of the story. A tornado ripped through their town and destroyed her trailer.
Oh my God. It's all she has.
Yep.
That is so fucking awful.
Sandra began suffering from PTSD, although they didn't call it that back then.
Right.
She struggled to do even the most basic things for her daughters. So believing that she could and should get help from someone, she contacted the Department of Social Services. Instead of helping her, they took away her children.
Ugh.
Well, that's just shitty.
Like, what the fuck?
That's just so wrong.
I just that part, it's heartbreaking.
It is. That's fucking horrific. It's so sad.
She literally tried to do the right thing.
Right. And it would have been so much better for those kids if they had just been able to be with their actual mother instead of being taken away, if the state used their resources to just help her support her kids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of the rest of this it would have changed, but it certainly set things up poorly. So Clifford was contacted because social services wanted to have all 3 girls adopted into the same family, and offered him to be able to adopt all 3 girls or to give them up. For whatever reason, he wasn't given the option of adopting only his biological child.
Interesting. It's better to keep the kids together.
Agreed. But what a weird way to do it. You know, he's not the father of the other 2. It's just fucked up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, Clifford at the time was unemployed and living with his parents, and certainly in no position to adopt 3 children. And he was still suffering from his own PTSD from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Having lost her children, one day Sandra had gone into a church and was crying, and she couldn't stop herself from crying. It was at that moment that Franklin Floyd, then known as Brandon Williams, sat down next to her. He literally said to Sandra, quote, "God sent me here to help you," unquote. Fucking scumbag.
Insane.
Wow.
I hate this fucking man so fucking much. Have I said that yet?
He said that like an hour ago. Yeah, it hasn't changed, I see.
No, it has not. It has not changed.
It's only gotten worse, right?
Yeah.
As he comforted her, he told her that they will get her children back, they will get married, and everything would be all right. Now, I know that predators go after the vulnerable, but to me, this is the worst predator we've had here yet, I think. After Sandra and Floyd were married, she started to see the signs of some very scary behaviors on his part. By the time Sandra truly realized the situation she was in, she didn't even know what to do. Floyd carried a knife on his person, and whenever he felt threatened or thought Sandra might leave him, he would put his hand on his knife and ask, "Do you think you're going to leave me?"
Oh, God.
That is just sick.
This poor woman lived in constant fear. And then the worst possible thing happened. She was arrested for having written a bad check.
Are you
What the fuck?
fucking serious?
No.
She was given 30 days in jail.
What?
That's fucked up.
When she was finally released, Floyd had left with all 3 girls.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, no.
Sandra immediately reported this to police, only to be told that because they were legally married, it was a civil matter and that she would have to take care of it herself.
Are you?
Oh, that's
Wow.
That's not okay.
Wow.
Fucked up.
Extremely.
She refused to take that for an answer, and she became louder and louder, but they eventually escorted her out of the police station.
Fucking insane.
Floyd had dropped the 2 younger girls off at an orphanage. But as we know, he took Suzanne, and they disappeared together. Sandra has lived with the guilt of not being able to protect her daughter for a very long time. Now, I mentioned that Netflix documentary earlier.
Yep.
It's called The Girl in the Picture. And there are people within that documentary that are really, really hard on Sandra for not trying harder to find Suzanne. Now,
Ugh.
I want to say a couple things regarding that. First, it was the 70s, and Floyd was obviously very good at hiding who he really was.
Yep.
Second, Sandra was poor, traumatized, and had two other young girls to look after.
Yeah.
What more could she have done?
Literally, like if the police weren't going to help her, like what is she supposed to do?
Exactly. She can't go investigate on her own. She got arrested for writing a bad check. She has no money.
Literally.
So when I watched that documentary and I listened to some of the people just shit all over Sandra, I was like, fuck you people.
Yeah.
Like what could she have done? She can't take that into her own hands. She doesn't have the
And what is
resources.
she gonna do? Like, I don't even know what anyone did back then because I'm ignorant millennial.
Well, that was
like
20 years before you were born. 25
right,
years
like
before you were
you
born.
can't Google and find them. You can't, and they're using a fake name. Like literally, what? Like
Right. The FBI couldn't find this guy for 17 years, and you think she was supposed to?
right? And like, of course, she was probably dying inside that her daughter was missing and that she would never find her again. But what the fuck was she supposed to do?
Exactly.
That's so frustrating.
Absolute double standard.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, with the FBI. Ugh.
So, however, when Suzanne's daughter, Megan, Sandra's granddaughter, reached out to Sandra, they were kind of met with indifference. Like Sandra didn't really care to try to know them. So they stopped trying. And maybe that says a little more about Sandra than anything else.
Yeah. But also,
yeah, like these are people you knew. You know what I mean? Like the last time, think about it. Last time you saw your daughter, she might have been 4 or 5. And now someone's telling you that they're your granddaughter.
right. Like at that point, how much connection do you actually have?
Yeah. So,
especially if your actual daughter is MIA, like,
fine, she's a murder victim at this point.
Oh, right, because they know she's a murder victim at this point. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I can see someone retreating inside of themselves.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have gotten involved either.
Yeah,
but Franklin,
it's got just heartbreaking.
It really is. It's crazy. Now, Franklin Floyd died of natural causes while awaiting his execution.
How many times have I heard that fucking sentence?
Yeah, he died in January of 2023.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Michael Hughes's remains have never been recovered.
Ugh.
So after Burke,
how long was he on death row? The fuck?
From the mid 90s on to 2023. Yeah.
Death row is so unserious.
I know. It's yeah. I don't understand what the point of it is if we're never going to execute people.
Right. I don't really get it.
But after Birkbeck learned Suzanne's real name, he wanted to replace the headstone that had been used that read only Tonya. And he asked her daughter Megan to decide what should be written on it.
Wow.
So in 2017, her headstone was replaced, and Suzanne Sevakis, her real name written on the headstone, was officially laid to rest. And they had there was a whole thing there. Megan was there. Her adoptive mother was there. It was actually quite a touching scene, but she was officially laid to rest with her real name on her headstone. And that is the crazy fucking story of Suzanne Sevakis.
Wow.
Yeah. I told you, if I saw that in a movie, I'd have been like, bullshit.
Yeah, literally. I would never believe that was real.
Fucking crazy. More twists and turns. It's so hard to put it into words, like how shocked I was at every step of the way researching this.
I don't know how you kept it to yourself. I would have been blurbing, all kinds of secrets and be like, oh my God, guess what comes next?
Yeah, you told that very well.
Well, thank you. And especially because you were like, you're telling me this man's her biological father. And I'm like, oh, I can't say it.
I ain't saying it.
It was so hard. And that just made it confusing at that point. So I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. We had to find a tactful way to be like, well, I'm not confirming or denying that, but
like, just shush.
Yeah, exactly. Shut up, Joyous. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, this was a crazy case, and I've learned since basically we've decided to transform this podcast into more of a reaction thing. I've learned I can't talk to either of you about these cases ahead of time.
No, you cannot.
No, nope.
Yeah, because when we first started, I talked to you guys about a lot. Like Jameson, you knew well in advance we were doing Israel Keys and Molly Bish, and
Yes.
so there was no shock on your part, other than maybe little details you didn't know. Now I'm purposely keeping shit from you guys.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but it makes cases like this that much better, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know our listeners are being just as shocked as we are as we're hearing this.
And I mean, this, like I said, this was a Netflix documentary, so maybe some of them have seen it, but there's a chance they haven't. And it's kind of shocking. Like that case is fucked up.
Yeah.
Certainly one of my favorites, and I moved it up the list a little bit. I was like, oh, have to do this one. So,
yeah.
especially when he died this year. I was like, oh, we're doing this.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
most
recent.
definitely.
So, yeah. So, once again, everybody, thank you for joining us for episode 40. We all love you guys being here. We appreciate you. We love you. Reach out on Instagram and Facebook at Unsung Murder Ballads. You can email us case suggestions at unsungmurderballads@outlook.com. But yeah, I am Janus Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.